keep clients happy, I mean, one of the biggest things that I've learned is responsiveness.
How do you think the technology will affect the accounting professionals? And also, how can accountants or CPAs use technology to support their jobs or their careers?
Well, I think the biggest, I mean, if I have to give you some more stories, and so this is, just on tax. The tax software is huge. You couldn't do it. My father-in-law does his tax return by hand, and I look at him like, there's no way I would even begin to think of doing that. You have to understand the results, but you don't have to know how to go through that calculation. And anybody who tries to do it by hand makes mistakes. So obviously having that kind of software has been really good. And back in the old days, should we say, basically what they would do is they would fill out these, they didn't have a computer, but they would send it to a data processing center. So they would fill out the sheets, send it in a bus, and then they would key it in and send back the tax returns. This was long, and then I remember our firm got a big IBM System 34 computer, and then we started doing our own taxes in-house. So that was big, and then as more and more, I've seen it. How many? It's really, to do the desktop version doesn't make sense anymore. You really have to be cloud-based, because then you don't have the backup issues and things like that. So that's just on the processing. That's changing quite a bit. It changes all the time. I don't know about you. When I was walking through that vendor exhibit hall at Engage, I couldn't even understand what half those applications were. I'd be looking at it, it's like, well, what is this doing? And so it's obviously changing fast. Just report writers. I talked to one guy that uses the QuickBooks Online, and that would look really nice. But if you're using the desktop version, that wouldn't do anything. But yeah, it was just there was some new technology there that I couldn't even. And I've been quite tech savvy over the years, but I don't know what some of these things were doing. Now, maybe if I was more in tune in what audit or tax or if that was becoming more important to me. But to see that kind of technology changing, and that was just in 1 year. And a lot of sessions, it was ChatGPT. And so I can imagine Engage next year is going to be something incredible with all the ChatGPT. They brought out some good points, that you don't want to be using. You got to be careful about using your client's data, because once you use it in a ChatGPT, it becomes part of the public, the whole database. So, companies do have to work through this right now, but it's going to go fast. I saw Tulane had a book festival last spring, and they had Bill Gates was one of the speakers, and his story was that he gets invited to some of their development meetings, and he arrived one time and they said, look at this is our artificial intelligence stuff. He said it was last fall, and he looked at it and kind of said, yeah, that's nice, I can see that, but come back to me when it can write a term paper. And so he left, and he figured it'd be years before that happened. And in 6 months, they called him back and said, nah, come back and see this. And he said it was just completely amazing how fast it went in 6 months, and it's just coming. So people need to get used to it. And, much to the chagrin of Google, people aren't going to be saying, let's Google it. They're going to be, let's try ChatGPT on this. And it was I tried it the other day. I play bridge. That's one of my little side gigs now. But my partner and I were having a discussion of how to approach a particular hand, And I said, well, let me try ChatGPT, see what they come up. And I typed in, how do you respond to a one no Trump bid? And it was like, it took a couple minutes, and then it came back and gave us a nice analysis of why we should do this. And so it was like, okay, I can get it. So ChatGPT. So you won't be saying, let's Google it. You'll be ChatGPT it.
Yes, exactly. I was very impressed when I just use it for just like write a tenant notice, because I'm managing rental property, and it was like, I don't want to spend to write the full page of the tenant notice anymore. I just write a tenant notice with this content. It came back very nice format, very nice template. I was like, I just copy and paste it and edit a little bit. It's good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty impressive. I couldn't believe it could be that good.
I did because I did the Medicare presentation at Engage. I said, well, let me just see if it can give me a PowerPoint presentation on Medicare from the perspective of financial advisors. And nah, it didn't. It wasn't. It didn't quite. It's not up to date with the Medicare part.
Oh yeah. One thing when I use ChatGPT, they do have a small message saying that the data is 2021 and before only. It's not up to date. So
unless you use the Bing on, I think Microsoft's Bing has the current version.
So besides of technologies that it's just changing so fast that people need to adapt with it, what do you think are the challenges or obstacles that people need to face with in this accounting career?
I think that you got the typical long hours, work-life balance, the things that have been typical for CPA firms, or as we used to say in April, that was the spring thaw. That's when everybody got laid off once tax season was over, But I'm finding that firms are being a little more, they're recognizing that not everybody wants to be working those kind of hours. And my daughter-in-law, she's working for a firm, and they gave her the options. If you don't want to work during tax season, you can take a 10% cut during tax season in pay. And some people might say, that's worth it. Not to have to be working the hours that we were doing. So hopefully the firms are getting a little better, and I think it's starting to show in terms of as it was addressed at the conference. The pipeline is not as robust as it used to be. A couple of years ago, before the pandemic, it was accounting was hot. Everybody was hiring and everybody's going into it, and now it just seems to be they're not keeping up with the especially in the pay area with the finance jobs. So that's going to be a problem. That the numbers are dwindling, so it's going to be even more competitive. One of the firms that took over some of my clients, they, instead of subbing out the work to India, they just went and bought a CPA firm in India, and so it's part of their and brought it under their umbrella, under their quality control, and so that's how they had to go out and find resources, because everybody there was one managing partner was telling me, all we're doing is moving people around. They say, oh, we're giving you more money, and the people will leave. So there's no, they gotta really work on retention, and I don't know how they do it. It's a tough situation for the people running the firms right now.
Yeah, I agree with you about that. Is people just keep saying, do you know anyone who's still working in accounting? Do you know anyone who's interested in accounting? And they even try to recruit people from another career, like doing different jobs, marketing, doing nothing related to accounting at all. See, maybe you should change to accounting. We say, okay.
Yeah. Well, some of my private equity clients, they would go hire English majors from universities, or what they felt is if somebody was smart enough, they could teach them how to analyze businesses and things like that. I think accounting is a little more technical. It's not as hard. You got to know debits on the left, credits on the right, things like that. But I'm not even sure the young people coming out of college really know. I mean, because we had to keep a set of books, and so you knew how to balance it and balance all the ledgers. Whereas now you just put it in QuickBooks and it's already balanced as you put it in there. So that's a positive, I think. But
yeah,
the actual debits and credits, and I know sometimes you get stuck and you got to go, wait a second, let me just see. Let me write the journal entry to see if I can see how this makes sense, and how would you book it, and then, oh yeah, I see it. This would be a deduction for tax purposes or something.
Yeah, that's what we talk. I have a conversation at Engage as well. We talk about with a lot of technologies involving in this job right now. We're going to cut the basic level, and all the basic skills will not be needed because these skills will be replaced with technology. And so people who just finish college, when they jump in start the job, they will not be able to start from basic. They're going to skip that step and then start working on above the basic level that sometimes they may not understand thoroughly about accounting because they didn't start from very bottom to understand completely in details about why this happened in this way. So that's what we talk about at Engage as well. One of the technologies have a lot of great advantages, but that's one of the disadvantages that schools need to pick up really quick in order to teach college students to be able to just get the basic background or basic level right in college before they graduate.
Yeah. One of my colleagues on the executive committee, she's Brianne. I don't know, did you meet her, Brianne? She wasn't at Engage, but you might have heard her. She's a professor at University of Alabama of accounting, so I know she's in tune to her students and how that works. So it's interesting to hear what she says when she gives her updates.
Oh, that's interesting. So given all the challenges that we just talked about, in your opinion, what are the key qualities or skills that people at this time need to be able to succeed in this career?
Well, obviously you got to have some technical skills, or else you can't sit for the CPA exam. I know that they've done the 150 hours, and I'm starting, and I wonder if that's cutting people out, because that's another year basically of college that you have to pay for, and you're not really always taking accounting courses at the time, if you've had them all. So you have to have the technical knowledge. Then there are different people. There's people who are the rainmakers, who love to go out and schmooze clients and bring in business, and other people who are very shy, and you'd like to do the work. So but they try to get everything to be a rainmaker, and not everybody's a rainmaker, and so that's definitely a challenge. I think if you're going to keep clients happy, I mean, one of the biggest things that I've learned is responsiveness. You just got to get back to clients and be available to them. A lot of times, some of the firms that took over some of my clients, the clients will call me and say, "I can't get a hold of this person. What do I do? Do you know another firm? Because this is not working out." And that's disappointing because, sometimes they would call me on April 14th, and I would take their call. It's like, sometimes it could have been something easy, and I say, yeah, here it is. Or sometimes it says, well, it is the 14th. Can I talk to you in 2 days? And I think, oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. Yeah, of course it is. But just or just respond, like if I was out of town, I'd respond to the email and say, I'm out. I'll be back next Monday or so. Is that okay, or do we need to do something beforehand? And most of the time they say, oh, that's fine, and we can do that. So you have to be, understand the clients want service, and not everybody does that. If you're on your phone and you're just clicking away and not paying attention to what the client's needs are, that's going to be a problem. So those are some of the, I guess, what other problems? And hopefully the firms are doing better, with the pyramid, trying to, you get cut out, and then you only have limited number of positions. I know the firm I worked for, they finally had to go to a mandatory retirement age just to make room for people, because they're just, nobody was leaving. And so that, firms need to do a little better human resource management, should we say. They weren't used to it in the past. Accountants, no, we're tough. We just work all the time.
Yep, get the things done.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a great video, if you go on YouTube, it's, when I grow up, I want to be a tax accountant. And they have all these little kids dressed up in suits, and they go, when I grow up, I'm going to want to work long hours. And it's a really good video.
Oh yeah, I watched that as well. It was so cute. Video. It's like all the little kids, and they just dress up professional, as you said, and then they talk like accountants as well. It's just so funny. Yeah. So you.
I just checking. The dog wants to go out. So.
Oh. At the beginning of the interview, you mentioned about getting involved in the community. Do you think that that's something that people should develop, that characteristic or that skills to get more involved with the community?
Yes, but it depends. And what I mean by that is, when I lived in New Jersey, it's a very populous state, populous, a lot of people. And I lived in central Jersey, but, clients would be in the north part of the state, or, and so really, where do you get involved? Where do you pick and choose, what organizations? And it wasn't as easy up there. Down here in New Orleans, even though it's a city, it's a small town in a lot of respects, and so it's more, you do know people, or you went to school with people, and this and this. And so I've in just I've been here 7 years. In 7 years, I've been involved in boards and organizations, and I've done a lot of community engagement work that I couldn't do in New Jersey, just because I was like, it's so big, and I didn't know where to go. And so, and here in New Orleans, you might have a New Orleans chapter, CPAs. Okay. New Jersey, they have the North chapter, the Central chapter, and that are all over the place. And so, and a lot of businesses, a lot of organizations. So it's really hard, I found, to do the same level of community involvement up there than it is here. And that's what I mean by it depends. I think if you're in a smaller community where you're well known, and you happen to like an organization that you want to be part of, then I think those are good things to do. But
yeah, I always encourage my people at my firms and new staff to involve with the state society. So I think that's one of the good skills for them, to just get out and at least talk to people, not just get the tax return done, but talk to people. So at least develop the communication skills. Because right now I feel like technology is just so good right now. So besides technical knowledge or technical skills, you also need soft skills as well. And by involving with the community like this, it will help new staff to develop soft skills, will benefit them in the future. That's what I was thinking.
We did the managing partners in the firm here in New Orleans when I started. They would do things like Toastmasters, and they would pay for our membership at Toastmasters, and they encourage that kind of involvement. So and all the fraternal organizations, Alliance or whatever, they wanted people out there being involved with them. So, but like I said, in New Jersey, it's just where to find it. It was a lot of people there.
As a seasoned professional, I'm just wondering, well, you have a lot of experience. What advice would you give to young CPAs or young accountants who are just starting their careers?
I think one of the things is that accounting certainly is a good skill set. So, even though it might not be long term for you in a public accounting firm, the knowledge of understanding numbers, financial statements, how they're produced, dealing with clients, and interacting with people. The accounting profession is a good skills-based starting point. What you do with it after that, there's people who left accounting and went off and did marketing, or went off and did controller work, or it's just but it's a good place to start, especially if you don't have any other knowledge of business. If somebody's passionate about marketing, they can go directly into a marketing job. But if you don't know, it's a good start at the accounting firm, and it is a level of prestige, especially once you get the designation of the CPA. And one of the advantages that the young people have today that we didn't have, like I said, it was basically audit and tax. And now you've got audit, tax, consulting, personal financial planning, a lot of different areas. So you can. You gotta get off the table, Pat.
Oh, I guess the cat just want to be in the video.
Yeah. Yes. You want to see?
Oh, hello.
So there's a lot of opportunities, and the one thing that I had a passion for was certainly financial planning, and so that's where I found the CFP, and once I passed that, and then once I was on the executive committee, I figured I better get the PFS. And so I didn't have to take that. Fortunately, I didn't have to take the exam because I could just do it through the experience pathway. And so I was able to get that. But, it's you can never, I've always believed that you can never take enough personal finance or financial planning courses, no matter where you are. I really think they should start in high school. And teach people budgeting and time value of money and credit cards and things like that. And so, I'm always learning, and I've been at this since, 87. So that's one of the areas that I find passionate. I don't know how the CPA firm is going to, hopefully the CPA industry is going to, hopefully we're really working hard on trying to enhance the PFS credential. But there's a lot of pushback by the CFP board right now. They want to limit entrance. They want their designation to be the top premier designation. So, and so we are, they're advocating that it's, there's more than just that. So for the time being, I'm both.
You are CPA, PFS, and CFP.
Yes.
All three good designations.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's amazing because a lot of people they are struggling just get a CPA license, and
Yeah,
actually people now they are advised that if you cannot get a CPA license, you can still be enrolled agent and you still can move up in your career just as someone else have the CPA license. And so
yeah,
by saying that, it feel like being a CPA is not that leverage anymore. If they say that if you are an EA, you can also move up just as a CPA. What would you think about that?
well, there is discussion that requiring a CPA is a barrier to entry for people to come in. But I don't know how you allow somebody to issue an audit opinion that's not a CPA. I mean, that's kind of hard, to have an enrolled agent. Now, a tax return, you don't even have to be either one to do tax work either.
That's true.
But but certainly, the signing off on an audit opinion, I can't imagine another profession that would take that kind of risk. And so I think I know in New Jersey in particular there's a lot of discussion that well, this is a barrier to entry for people, and so I know the CPA state society was fighting it, but I mean, you got to have some licenses somewhere along the way. I mean, they have licenses for haircutters, salon operators. I mean, I don't know how you can't have one. Require and it's a different like the CFP, for example, is a designation. It's not a license, so it's granted. You have the use of those initials. Whereas if you go to the state and you're a CPA, it is a license. I mean, just like, haircutters or electricians or something like that. I mean, it is a license. So I do see a difference there. It just, what they want to do with it is I don't know. It's up to the politicians,
Can you say more details, the difference between license and designation?
Well, I'm just using it from the CFP example because I'm both. I mean, when I get every year when I renew everything, it just says you have the rights to use the CFP, and you have to put a R after it, and you have to there's certain requirements, but you pass and they've granted you the designation. And that comes from the CFP board in Washington, but it's not a government agency, so that's a big difference. To get your CPA license or your it's an it's an accounting license. It is a government entity that grants you the license, so you can operate. You can put out your shingle and say, I'm a CPA or whatever is granted. So it comes one's from a organization that came up with this. Another one is a legislative body that grants you the license.
I see. That makes sense. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for all your stories and your information you shared with me about your CPA career or CPA, PFS, and CFP.
There you go.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you for having me on.